Hey, good morning, South Park. It's your boy Anderson here, trying something a little bit different. I want to make sure everybody's caught up in the notes, so here's what I'm going to do today. I have your notes here in front of you. Everybody so far has all these notes. You have the biosphere and the biomes. You have all of these notes right here. You have everything. I want to skip down to where we left off today. So these are all the periods, grasslands. Now we'll have a test coming up. Don't worry about it yet. I'll figure it out where once we're in school. Geothermal feature. Okay, here you go. Very first thing, I want this right here, size 18 or 20 in red, so everyone knows what it is. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read you these notes, and you're going to be in class today. Headphones are on, and you're going to be typing in your notes. Does everybody understand? Should be no problems whatsoever. And I'm going to be in class. I just want to try something a little bit different today. I want to see if it works. You always want to try something new, see if it's successful or not. And maybe if it is, we could tweak it a little bit. Maybe if it isn't, we'll, throw it away and we'll try something else again. All right, very first thing. One geothermal place that people love to visit is a place called Yellowstone National Park. It is absolutely beautiful. I've had my family there, and it's breathtaking. It's the only word that I could use to describe it. I believe Mr. Duggan was there last year. If you don't believe me, you can go ask him, and I have pictures how beautiful this place was. This is the place that has the geyser, Old Faithful, right here. So that's one of your notes that you could put down. All right. Now, and after this, I want a picture of Yellowstone. Just put down Yellowstone geysers, and it'll come up, and you'll have all these pictures of Yellowstone, and you find the prettiest one that you want and put it in there. All right. Next one, Yellowstone National Park is located in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. This park is famous for its wildlife, including buffalo, elk, wolves, and grizzly bears. I'm going to put this all in red right here, just so that you know it's important. Once again, Yellowstone National Park is located in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. This park is famous for its wildlife, including buffalo, which are bison, elk, wolves, and grizzly bears. Right here is a picture of a bison. If you go up to the game preserve behind, I think you guys call it the Black and Gold Park, you can see bison up there in South Park. All right. Next note here. This park also has many geothermal features. Now, believe it or not, this water is super, super hot. It might be 400 or 500 degrees, and it's coming out from the center of the earth. We're going to see that in 1 second here. And there's these geothermal pools everywhere. Now, Yellowstone National Park, believe it or not, the easiest way to explain it, it is a volcano that has not erupted in millions of years. And eventually, one day, it will erupt, and people are worried about it because it's going to be a massive one. Supposedly, when we were out there, the park ranger said once if it erupts or if it explodes, the devastation will be all the way to Missouri, which is 1,400 miles away. That's how massive this park is. Now, Yellowstone National Park is basically from Morgantown, West Virginia, WVU, to Erie, Pennsylvania. It's basically 200 miles by 200 miles by 200 miles. It's a big square, and it's 200 miles by 200 miles, and it is massive. You can spend, if you had to hike it, you could probably spend a whole entire month there hiking it and not even see half of it. That's how massive this place is. All right. For when I put in geothermals, I put in two pictures. Go ahead and put a couple in there. This is algae, that different color, and it's just the algae and microorganisms that are able to live in that steaming hot water. If you see the steam right here, this is the water turning into water vapor. We talked about the hydrosphere last week or last month I should say, and this is the water vapor right here. See it in the back. Um, that's it goes from a liquid form, then it gets hot uh, and evaporates, and it turns to the gas form right here, water vapor. All right. Next thing, geothermal refers to any system that transfers heat from within planet Earth to the surface of planet Earth. Let me put an S right here. Geothermal refers to any system that transfers heat from within planet Earth to the surface of planet Earth. All right. The most famous geothermal feature in Yellowstone or the United States is a geyser called Old Faithful. Old Faithful. And if you can remember how to put the GIFs in, if you can put that in, it'll be pretty awesome. Old Faithful. Take your time. Once again, if I'm going too fast, you have the ability to pause it. We good? All right, here we go. By the way, cut my hair, looking fresh to death. Once again, here's another picture of the geothermals. This is the water coming from the surface of the earth. It's so hot it's boiling over, and this is the water vapor that it causes right here, geothermals. And this is the Old Faithful, geyser right here in the background. This is obviously in the wintertime here, snow, but you can still see how hot it is. If you get a chance, look up on YouTube, Old Faithful geyser, and you'll be able to see it, and it is awesome. We were lucky enough to see it, I think, a couple times when we were there. Next thing, the Wolves of Yellowstone. Now, there was some homework that I gave you when I was in these ESL classes. There's a reason why I gave you homework about Yellowstone and about wolves. It's how wolves affected Yellowstone. Now, the most important thing I can teach you is in nature, on planet Earth, one thing affects the other thing. So if we add something that shouldn't be there, it's going to mess things up. If we remove something that should be there, it's going to mess it up. All right. So the very first thing, Yellowstone National Park is home to wolves, especially the gray wolves. All right. So we're good to go there. I just put in a picture of the gray wolf there. All right, here we go. The story of the wolves of Yellowstone National Park is a long one that shows the impact that wolves have on the biosphere. And if you remember the biosphere, bio means living, so any living thing, how the wolves affect the biosphere. So, if we were to put a top predator in South Park, how would the wolves affect South Park? They would attack rabbits. They would attack pets, dogs and cats, and they would go after the deer population. So the deer population in South Park would drop quickly, dramatically. This is the story of the Yellowstone wolves. So imagine if we would put wolves in South Park. The deer population would drop dramatically. I would imagine within 2 months, let's say if there was 1,000 deer in South Park, within 2 months, I would imagine that number would go from 1,000. It would probably drop drastically 400, just because the wolves are always constantly hunting, and the deer are not used to running from the wolves. So their population would drop. Now, here's where Yellowstone comes into play. Hunters killed the gray wolf off because it was preying on cattle and sheep. I should put down hunters and farmers. So why would farmers want to kill the wolves? Because if you're a sheep farmer or a cattle farmer, if you have all these wolves killing your animals, that affects your money. I've told you from the very first day, Everything in America revolves around money. If it makes sense, if it makes money, people will do it. Hunters said, hey, we're going to get rid of these wolves. Farmers said, hey, these wolves are affecting my bottom line. Let's kill them off. And that's exactly what they did. So hunters and farmers killed the gray wolf off because it was preying on cattle and sheep. All right. And hunters and farmers, I'm going to go ahead and put that in red. And just if you don't know, I think praying, when I voice typed, that's the type of praying I want. Just so that you know, praying, I know we went over this, but just in case you forgot, eating on cattle and sheep. So here's an example of the wolves right here. I know this isn't the most adorable picture of wolves, but they've taken down an animal. I believe it's a deer in this picture. And obviously, they're a top predator, so they want to eat. So they chase this deer down, they hunted it, they killed it, now they're going to eat it. The solution was to kill and hunt, or excuse me, the solution was to hunt and kill the wolves. All right? So that's what they wanted to do. So by 1925, the wolves were extinct in Yellowstone National Park. Once again, if I'm going too fast, just hit pause. So right up here, I mentioned hunters and farmers killed the gray wolf because it was preying, eating on cattle and sheep. So in 1926, the wolves were extinct. Extinct means, obviously, you know what it means, gone forever in Yellowstone National Park. All right. So you have elk. Now, elk are those big, beautiful animals. Bigger than a deer, smaller than a moose, massive. Elk, a male bull elk, let's say 325 pounds. Matter of fact, I think my buddy got one not too long ago. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. All right. Ooh. Here's what it looks like. See my buddy Tony there? He got it. You see how massive they are. They are massive. Now you can look one up, and there's actually pictures, but I just remember I had a picture on my phone of them. By removing the wolves from Yellowstone National Park, farmers and ranchers remove the top predator. So all the elk are like, hey, we got nothing to be scared of anymore. And they started having babies and babies and babies and babies. Here's the problem. I've said Mother Nature is a seesaw. It gets too high, it comes back. Mother Nature wants just a little bit. It's all Mother Nature wants, just a little bit of movement. But what happens is when you get mankind involved, it does this. And it doesn't have that balance. So here's what happened. By removing the wolves from Yellowstone National Park, Mother Nature was out of balance. The elk herds increased dramatically and caused much damage to plants, shrubs, and trees. This is the most important thing that you can learn from today. By removing the wolves from the ecosystem of Yellowstone National Park, Mother Nature, she was not happy. Mother Nature was out of balance, and the elk herds increased and caused much damage to plants, shrubs, and trees. So here's a big bull elk right here. Bull means male. Big bull elk. You see how big his tines are. He's massive. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6, 7, probably 8, 9, 10. Now, look at your tables in my room. take one of those tables, take one whole table from one side and then another half table, and that's how big that gap would be between his tines. Massive, massive animals, and they're beautiful, and they taste delicious. All right, next thing. With the elk population so large, they began to eat aspen trees, which grow near the river, which grow near the banks of rivers and hold the soil in place. And hold the soil in place. All right. I'm going to highlight this because you're going to have to know the tree. So, the elk had nothing to be scared of. So they would just sit there and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. What's the problem? They were eating too much. They were eating everything. They were eating everything that was on the banks of the rivers, everything that was keeping that river soil together. We talked how roots go down in the soil and they hold everything together. If you remove those plants, the banks of the river get wider and wider and wider, and they start to erode, and that was the problem. By removing the elk, by removing the wolves, the elk grew. No big deal. Problem. You're messing with Mother Nature. Once again, Mother Nature wants what? She wants balance. Mother Nature wants balance. But by doing that, by removing the wolves, it threw Mother Nature out of balance. All right. With the elk population so large, they began to eat aspen trees, which grow near the banks of the river and hold the soil in place. Go ahead, put a picture, wherever you see my pictures, put a picture of a bull elk. Put a picture of aspen trees near a bank of a river. And see all these trees right here? These are aspen trees. And if you removed them, that water would just dig into that soil and eventually erode the banks of the river. There's another picture of one right here. See these aspen trees, and they're just holding. Now this is a picture of like a park, as you can actually see. There's like a neighborhood park. You can actually see the sidewalk here. But this was a good example how you have the river and you have these trees that are holding the soil in place. Because there were no aspen trees, erosion took place at an alarming rate, causing much more geosphere destruction. Geosphere, if you remember, means dirt, earth, soil. All right? That's what that means. Because there were no aspen trees, erosion took place at an alarming rate. There's nothing to hold that dirt in, so it's just all flying out. All right, eroding out. Once again, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause me and you'll be good to go. Ecologists were shocked and amazed by the removal of one animal. The wolf could have such a negative impact on the biosphere, hydrosphere, and geosphere. Biosphere, the elk population exploded. They're eating too much. The hydrosphere, the rivers are now out of control, and the geosphere, because the rivers are out of control, it's eating or eroding all the banks of the river. So just by removing one animal, the wolf, you had all that negative effect. I'm going to put the wolf in red, so we're good to go there. All right. So I want you make sure you have all of this. The wolves of Yellowstone. So we started way back here. And make sure you're putting in all your pictures. All right? All your pictures. All right. Next topic. The wolves are back. The wolves are back. The wolves are back. All right. Here we go. Make sure you have put that down in size. I think it's eight. No, size 18 or 20. All right. 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'm so used to doing it in class. The biologist and ecologist studying Yellowstone National Park after the removal of the wolves saw the negative effects affecting the biosphere, hydrosphere, and geosphere. You're putting all this down. So the wolves are gone, and they came back and they started to do studies and research work, and they were like, man, we got some problems here. Without that wolf, we're going to have some major, major issues. All right? After many discussions and studies, biologists and ecologists decided that the wolves should return to Yellowstone to stop the destruction of the park. Now, people did not want the wolves back. Farmers and ranchers still, but the farmers and ranchers were not in Yellowstone. Farmers and ranchers are outside Yellowstone might not want them back, but the wolves were placed inside Yellowstone. Inside Yellowstone, so they were safe. They wear radio collars and they can track them all the time so they know exactly where they are. After many discussions and studies, biologists and ecologists decided that the wolves should return to Yellowstone to stop the destruction of the park. And this is just the Yellowstone River. I just put that in there. And this is what that park looks like. Guys, I'm telling you, you got to go there. I know you're 5th grade. Try to convince your parents to go there. Okay, here we go. In 1995, after 70 years, and no, everybody, I'm not 70. After 70 years not being in Yellowstone, the wolves were reintroduced to the park. And why? To stop the damage to the park's ecosystem. To the park's ecosystem. In 1995, after 70 years of not being in Yellowstone, the wolves were reintroduced, which means they just brought them back to the park to stop the damage of the park's ecosystem. All right. Next one. Wolves can change rivers. Let me center that a little bit better. We're almost done. We're almost done. Wolves can change rivers. Here we go. In Yellowstone, the erosion of the riverbanks caused the path of the rivers to change constantly. So they were flowing this way, then they were flowing that way, and they were flooding. With the reintroduction of the wolves in Yellowstone, this allowed vegetation to grow and stabilize the banks of rivers, stopping erosion. So, what do you mean that wolves are back? What are the wolves planting? Planting the trees and planting the shrubs? No. Here's the catch. The wolves are back. So the elk can't just sit there and eat all day. They can't sit there and eat and gnaw and eat all the vegetation. They got to eat a little bit, keep it going. This allows the plants. This allows aspen, and the honeysuckle to grow. These things flourish around the banks of rivers. So here we go. With the reintroduction of the wolves in Yellowstone, this allowed vegetation to grow and stabilize the banks of the river, stopping erosion. Stabilize just means to help. To help. Matter of fact, let me even do this. So I'll put that in red. To stabilize, which means help the banks of the rivers to stop erosion. Trees like the aspen and a shrub called honeysuckle were allowed to flourish because the large herd of elk could not eat them safely. So they could not just sit there and eat like they're at a buffet. They got to eat a little bit, keep it moving, because if not, there's a pack of wolves right on their butts. All right? Put it down. This is honeysuckle right here. Put in a picture of the honeysuckle. With the wolves packed back and hunting elves could not simply graze or eat near the river. They had to move This allowed vegetation to start to grow next to the rivers again. You know what? And let's celebrate that. We're going to put a couple exclamation marks right there. How about that? With the wolves back and hunting elk, the elk could not simply graze near the river. They had to keep it moving, and this allowed the vegetation to grow again. All right. So right here is a picture of a pack of wolves. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably the male right here, or the alpha wolf right here. This is a bull elk, and they're tracking him down. They're hunting him. I know it's not the cutest thing, but that's how Mother Nature designed it. Mother Nature designed it to be just like that. All right. Believe it or not, the Yellowstone wolves actually changed the rivers. So believe it or not, because the wolves were there, they moved the elk to hunt the elk. Here's a picture. Go ahead and put that picture in there. They had to hunt the elk. They couldn't just stay there, so the trees, vegetation started to go. There was less erosion near the rivers and more large pools of water used as watering holes. So there's a big watering hole now. These new watering holes were a great benefit to other animals in the Yellowstone National Park ecosystem. All right. The biosphere, wolves, changed the hydrosphere of rivers in a positive way. I'll put that down right there. I know I got my picture right here, my adorable face. I know everyone's jealous. You want to be bald like this. The biosphere of the wolves changed the hydrosphere of the rivers in a positive way. And this is just a picture of a beaver I'll put down in there. All right. So what I want you to do is make sure you have all these notes ready. You can put your headphones on and we'll be ready to rock and roll. All right. Just trying out a little something new. You sit there and type in your notes and you'll be good to go. All right. Hey, if you need help, just like I said, trying something new, just look right over your shoulder. I'm right there willing to help you out. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.